Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor of presenting to you a passionate advocate for the rights of children and a distinguished jurist committed to justice for Canada's First Nations, Judge Mary Ellen Turpel-Lafond. Since 2006, Mary Ellen Turpel-Lafond has served as representative for children and youth in British Columbia, the first person appointed to this independent office of the BC Legislative Assembly. Over the past decade, she has been the voice of those who cannot be heard, the poor, victimized, abused, and marginalized children and youth of Canada, particularly those from Aboriginal communities in British Columbia and elsewhere. She seeks to understand the pathways of their marginalization and urges us to engage the young in meaningful ways so that they may flourish and take full advantage of the wealth and resources of this rich country. She sheds light on our collective failures to embrace and unleash the strength and energy of children living in poverty everywhere in Canada, from reserves to underprivileged urban settings. Mary Ellen Turpel-Lafond has lived, quite literally, all of the lives that can be lived in the law. Elle a été tour à tour étudiante en droit à Osgoode Hall, doctorante à Harvard Law School, avocate et activiste en droit autochtone, professeur et chercheur à Dalhousie Law School, juge en Saskatchewan et mère de 4 enfants avant d'occuper la charge publique qui est aujourd'hui la sienne. One wonders how so much could have been done in so little time. At the age of 31, she was named by Time magazine among the 100 global leaders of tomorrow, and 4 years later, she became the first person of Aboriginal ancestry to be appointed to the bench in Saskatchewan. A member of the Muskeg Lake Cree Nation, Mary Ellen Turpel-Lafond grew up in poverty in Norway House, Manitoba. As a child, she was surrounded by domestic violence, but she has lived her own life at a furious pace, urging other marginalized women to become the masters of their own destiny, speaking on their behalf, turning knowledge and wisdom into action and results. Mr. Chancellor, for her remarkable contributions to justice for children, youth, and women in Canada, for her optimistic spirit and extraordinary energy, I respectfully present to you Judge Mary Ellen Turpel-Lafond so that you may confer upon her the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now invite Dr. Mary Ellen Turpel-Lafond to deliver the convocation address. Dr.
Thank you so much for this great honor to the Chancellor and to the representatives of McGill faculty, the Dean, and particularly to the graduates of the graduating class of 2014. It's a delight to join you as a graduate today. Myself, having graduated from my law school, Osgoode Hall Law School, some 29 years ago now, hard to believe. When I was thinking about the convocation when I graduated back in 1985 and thinking about the honorary doctorate and the speech that the person may have given, and I can tell you I have no idea who received it, and I do not remember anything that they said. The only thing I remember was thinking whether my mother and father were okay, my sister was fighting with my mother, were they well fed, would they survive the ceremony, would we keep going forward and celebrate. So I was more focused on my family. And so I'm going to start today really by saying congratulations to the families who I'm sure must be so proud of the graduates here today and all of the things that you've probably done to support your student, your child, to make sure that they get across the stage today. And I heard a child crying earlier, which to me was a very happy sound. and which makes me think that some of the graduates today might also be parents and might be sitting thinking about the day that their children might be up here as well. And I'm so honored today with me to have my two daughters who came from British Columbia, including my eldest daughter, who will become a McGill student in September of 2014. So it's quite fitting. And I just wanted to share in my brief remarks how important I think the value of a strong education is. The foundation of your legal education is so important because not only do you have a solid grounding in the law as you walk across the stage, given this distinguished group of professors, faculty, visitors, and others who have helped shape your legal ideas, but you will also have had to examine many issues in terms of your own thinking. You will have been challenged during your legal education to be a deeper thinker, to look at Canadian society, to look at the world, to think about equality, for instance. When I graduated from law school in 1985, the equality provisions in Section 15 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms only came into effect that year. They had been delayed for 3 years. When I studied law, we didn't have a single decision from the Supreme Court of Canada or any court on the meaning of Section 15 and equality. Some 30 years later, we do have a rich jurisprudence. We have changed the nature of law in Canada because of our thoughtfulness and our reflection and our analysis of what it means to be an equal society, to address issues of discrimination and understand what they mean in our society. Yet there's still so much work to be done to make that thinking, that principled legal thinking about equality, a reality in the lives of so many people. As the Dean said, much of my work as a First Nations woman has been working in First Nations communities, and now as representative for children and youth, working with First Nations and all children, particularly children in foster care. In the past 6 years, I've had more than 12,000 advocacy files come my way, where I've worked with individual children, and it's such a delight to have that. At the same time, it's a reminder of the deep disadvantage that so many children have in our society, and the fact that so many of them are Aboriginal children. And again, when I think about the 30-year history of the Charter of Rights, and I think about the future, when I finished my legal education, my first job after I got that law degree was not to go to Bay Street, although it was very enticing to go there. I worked with the Native Women's Association of Canada. We were assisting women to regain their Indian status, and we were looking at issues of violence against women and supporting change in communities. And while I like to think a lot has been accomplished in that 30 years, recently you may have noted that the RCMP came out with an operational review looking at how many missing and murdered Aboriginal women are in Canada and how important it is for us to look at the root causes of their disadvantage and to disrupt the pathways into being missing or being abused or facing violence. And while many people estimated there may be up to 800 missing and murdered Aboriginal women in Canada, the recent RCMP operational review told us, in fact, there's more than 1,100 missing and murdered Aboriginal women. When I was coming out of law school, Aboriginal women were 8% of all homicide victims. Because of declining crime rates and other factors, today those Aboriginal women are 24% of all homicide victims in Canada, while Aboriginal women are only 4% of the Canadian population. So you can see that our Charter of Rights and Freedoms and our constitutional protections, while they're so important to us, in many ways they can be simply paper tigers if we can't on the ground provide good safety in the lives of some of our most vulnerable citizens. And how do I believe that we will get there? We will get there because we will have very educated, committed, and collaborative individuals such as yourselves with strong legal education and strong belief in public service and working together to solve the real problems in our country, and that you will make a contribution. No matter what your position, you will think about equality, and you will think about in your profession how you will make a contribution to support the rule of law and to have a good society. So while I'm still into my pathway of my career, and I intend to spend many more decades doing the work I'm doing, I invite you to think about these issues and make a commitment to have an impact, not only in your profession, in your employment, and in your family, but also in your country. Thank you.